The United Kingdom woke up to news it never expected. Queen Camilla, the unshakable royal partner, suddenly pulled out of public life. No explanation, just a chilling silence. Within hours, headlines erupted, images went viral, and whispers turned into national concern. What had happened behind palace walls? Why was the Queen Consort suddenly unreachable? The answer, private, emotional, and profoundly human, has shaken the nation. And now, the public is reacting with a mix of shock, sympathy, and suspicion. The note that stopped everything. On the afternoon of October 18, 2025, Queen Camilla stood beneath the gray skies of Windsor Castle, attending a remembrance ceremony in front of over 200 guests. The occasion was routine. Camilla had made appearances like this dozens of times that year alone. At 2:41 p.m., an aide rushed toward her with a handwritten note, sealed and marked urgent. When Camilla opened it, her face changed instantly. Her mouth parted slightly, and her eyes locked, frozen in place. She did not finish the greeting line. She didn't wave. She didn't offer her usual, composed nod. Instead, she was escorted out by two senior aides within exactly 3 minutes of receiving the note. Her handbag was left behind, her prepared speech never delivered. For a royal engagement so public and so covered by media outlets like the BBC and Sky News, the exit was nothing short of shocking. It wasn't part of any protocol. It was pure, raw instinct. Witnesses reported that palace staff looked confused, some whispering, others checking their earpieces. No announcement followed. The live broadcast cut away awkwardly. Reporters on the scene noted the change in atmosphere. The crowd went from calm to deeply unsettled, one journalist wrote. Even the ceremonial guards seemed momentarily thrown off. For a royal appearance to end that way, something unprecedented had happened, and the UK was watching. What made the moment even more chilling was the silence that followed. The palace released no immediate explanation. Clarence House refused comment. Even regular royal correspondents were in the dark. And that's when speculation turned into worry. This wasn't political. This wasn't a diplomatic faux pas. This was something personal, something devastating, something that stopped the Queen Consort mid-dutiful smile and turned her into something rare in royal life, just a mother. While the public reeled from the shock of Camilla's sudden disappearance, palace insiders worked swiftly behind the scenes. It didn't take long before rumors began to circulate, and by nightfall, leaks from within Clarence House gave the first glimpse of what really happened. The note, so quickly delivered and so devastating in impact, wasn't about the crown at all. It was about her son. And within hours, the royal household found itself facing a private tragedy under very public eyes. What the message actually revealed. According to two independent royal sources who spoke to The Telegraph and ITV on background, the message Camilla received that afternoon involved a sudden, serious health emergency affecting her eldest child, Tom Parker Bowles, age 50. The contents were handwritten by his doctor and rushed to the event after staff were unable to reach Camilla via phone. The nature of the emergency has not been confirmed publicly, but one insider described it as severe and unexpected, requiring immediate attention. What stunned the palace was how blindsided everyone was. Just hours earlier, Camilla had been recorded in a BBC interview saying, "Family is everything, especially in difficult times." That statement, made at 11:15 a.m. that same day, now felt like a cruel twist of fate. At that moment, she had no idea that her own family was about to face one of its darkest hours. The message came not just as a shock, It came as a brutal interruption to her public role. In response to the note, all of Camilla's remaining events for the day, including a meeting at Ascot and a dinner at Marlborough House, were immediately cancelled. Palace communications switched into lockdown. No confirmations, no press briefings, only a single line released at 6 p.m. Due to urgent family matters, Her Majesty the Queen Consort has withdrawn from scheduled appearances. The deliberate vagueness sent media into a frenzy, but within the palace, it was about containment and care. This wasn't just about Camilla's role as Queen Consort. It threatened her emotional stability at a time when the royal family already appeared fragile. King Charles's health remained under review following his February 2024 cancer diagnosis. Princess Catherine was still recovering after major surgery earlier that year. With Camilla's sudden retreat, the monarchy's most visible maternal figure had vanished, and questions loomed over whether she would return in time for key events, like the Remembrance Day ceremony on November 11th. As the hours passed and tension mounted, Camilla finally returned to Clarence House under tight security. But behind the gates and beyond the silence, her reaction told a deeper story. For a woman known to endure headlines, royal skepticism, and relentless public comparison, this time was different. She wasn't concerned about optics. She wasn't thinking about roles. She was, for the first time in years, simply overwhelmed. And those who witnessed her response knew this was not a crisis of image. It was a crisis of heart. Behind palace doors. Camilla arrived back at Clarence House at 4:09 p.m., less than 2 hours after her dramatic departure from Windsor. Sources close to the household reported that upon entering, she asked for her team to leave her alone. She sat in the garden room, lights off, shoes off, and reportedly said nothing for nearly an hour. It was a silence that unnerved even her closest staff. No orders, no tears, just stillness. A kind of emotional shutdown the Queen Consort had never shown before. The entire Clarence House staff shifted into emergency rhythm. Events were cleared. Phone lines rerouted. Press calls declined. Only one instruction came from Camilla herself. No one talks. Not until I say it wasn't anger. It was shock. According to a senior aide, she wasn't thinking like a royal. She was thinking like a mother who had just been hit by a train. Her personal secretary remained nearby but did not speak unless spoken to. The message was clear. The Queen Consort was in free fall. King Charles, informed during a private meeting at Highgrove, immediately dropped his schedule. He called Camilla twice, first as monarch to consort, then as husband to wife. The second call lasted nearly 25 minutes and ended with a simple statement overheard by an aide. "I'm coming home." Charles arrived at Clarence House that evening and postponed his following day's engagements. It was a rare emotional shift for the king, one that showed how deeply this incident had pierced the royal armor. For a woman often characterized as composed, clever, and controversial, Camilla's reaction reminded everyone that behind the crown was a mother, deeply wounded. Her decision to request no statement, no narrative management, and no briefings revealed just how unguarded she truly was. She wasn't ready to perform. She wasn't ready to explain. She was grieving, not publicly, but deeply. And for those who knew her best, that silence spoke louder than any official announcement could. The royal family's emergency response. By 5 p.m. on October 18, 2025, the royal household had shifted into high alert. The Queen Consort's sudden departure was no longer a mystery among senior aides. It was now a crisis. King Charles III ordered all outgoing communications from Clarence House to be suspended for the evening. No statements, no corrections, no social media posts. The decision came after a tense 30-minute meeting with his private secretary, held behind closed doors at Highgrove House. The ripple effect was swift. Prince William was briefed at Adelaide Cottage, where he had just returned from a school run with Prince George. He reportedly received the update via encrypted channel and responded with a single directive: protect her privacy. Princess Anne received the call while attending a private dinner in Gloucestershire. Her face reportedly turned pale, and she left early without explanation. These were not just protocol adjustments. These were emotional shifts across the monarchy's core. By 7 p.m., 3 scheduled royal events were cancelled with identical phrasing, postponed due to family scheduling. These included a Royal Navy commemoration at Portsmouth, a cultural reception at Buckingham Palace, and a speech Camilla was due to deliver on childhood literacy. Behind the scenes, discussions turned to increased security at both Sandringham and Highgrove. Staff began quietly preparing for a possible closed-door summit involving key members of the family, something not seen since the Queen's death in September 2022. Internally, there was debate. Some courtiers believed a simple health statement could quell speculation. Others insisted on silence. What was most telling was the absence of leaks. Royal insiders, known to quietly brief trusted journalists, said nothing. Not even the Daily Mail or the Times got wind of the medical specifics. That restraint revealed one truth above all. This wasn't just about duty. This was about personal pain. And the palace, for once, was treating it that way. While the palace worked to contain the story, the public already knew something was wrong. It wasn't the cancellation of events that caused alarm. It was Camilla's face. A single photo, frozen in time, captured everything. The Queen Consort's eyes wide, her lips parted, her expression lost. That image hit the internet like a shockwave. It didn't need a caption. It told its own story. Something terrible had happened. And within hours, the world responded, with emotion, with questions, and with fire. Public shock and the viral moment. At exactly 8:12 p.m., a photo from Windsor went viral across platforms like X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit. It showed Queen Camilla seconds after reading the note. Her mouth slightly open, her eyes glassy, and her shoulders stiff. Within 45 minutes, hashtag Queen Camilla trended in the UK and hashtag Royal Emergency spiked globally. The image was raw, unfiltered, and devoid of royal polish. And that's why it shook the internet. It wasn't staged. It was real. British tabloid outlets quickly picked up the moment. The Sun, Mirror, and Daily Express ran the photo on their front pages the next morning. One headline read, "The note that broke the Queen." Others asked bluntly, "What happened to Camilla?" With no palace statement to counter the narrative, speculation spread fast. Some claimed it involved her son, Tom Parker Bowles. Others theorized a health emergency within the family. But no one knew for sure, and the silence only deepened the mystery. Public reaction was divided but intense. Many sympathized with Camilla, noting how rare it is to see vulnerability in a royal. "You could see the fear in her eyes," one post read. Others, still critical of her past, questioned the lack of transparency. But overall, the mood softened. Thousands shared stories of family emergencies, connecting with her as a mother, not a monarch. "We've all had that moment," a viral tweet said, "where the world stops with one phone call or message. This moment marked a strange turning point for Camilla's public image. For decades, she had been one of the most controversial figures in the royal family, often portrayed as cold or calculated, especially in relation to Princess Diana. But this image, this one frame of pain, broke through years of perception. It didn't erase her past, but it changed something in the present. Suddenly, she wasn't just the queen consort. She was a mother receiving terrible news. And that was something even critics couldn't ignore. As the public response swelled, so did quiet tremors inside the palace. Queen Camilla's absence was no longer just an emotional void. It was creating a logistical one. The royal calendar was suddenly full of holes, and decision-makers were scrambling to adjust. But what troubled insiders most wasn't the schedule. It was the question they weren't prepared to ask. What happens if Camilla can't return to her role? And for the first time, that question was met with silence. Cracks in the crown. By the morning of October 19, 2025, the royal household began quietly shifting operations. With Camilla off the public stage, Princess Anne took over 2 of her events, including a Literacy Foundation visit in Surrey. Duchess Sophie of Edinburgh was asked to attend a charity gala on Camilla's behalf, despite not being scheduled. The rapid reassignment of duties made clear one thing: contingency planning was no longer theoretical. It had started, for real. Behind closed doors, conversations turned serious. Could Camilla take an extended leave without damaging the monarchy's image? How would the public react if her absence stretched into 2026? Aides began drafting possible public messages, balancing compassion with caution. There was talk of announcing a temporary redefinition of Camilla's role, focusing less on formal engagements and more on behind-the-scenes support. But nothing was finalized. The risk of saying the wrong thing was just too great. This disruption struck at the heart of royal stability. Queen Camilla isn't just a supportive spouse. She's King Charles's emotional anchor. With his own health under scrutiny, losing Camilla's day-to-day presence raised fresh concerns about succession optics. Could Prince William handle increased visibility alone? Could Catherine, still recovering from medical leave, re-enter the spotlight early? These were not symbolic questions. They were real, immediate problems, and the monarchy had few solutions ready. By the end of the day, senior staff held what one aide described as a crisis continuity briefing. They reviewed all of Camilla's remaining 2025 commitments, over 21 events, and quietly began flagging which ones could be reassigned, postponed, or cancelled entirely. It was the first time since Queen Elizabeth II's final illness that a senior royal's workload was being completely restructured in real time. The takeaway was simple and sobering. When the queen consort falters, the whole system must adjust. Will Camilla's role change permanently? By October 21, 2025, Palace aides confirmed that 4 out of Queen Camilla's next 6 engagements had been postponed indefinitely. The events, including a high-profile speech at St. Paul's Cathedral, were removed from the royal calendar without rescheduling. While officially described as health-related delays, the pattern was impossible to ignore. Insiders revealed that discussions were quietly underway at Clarence House about scaling back Camilla's royal duties, not as a temporary pause, but as a lasting change. Several options were being floated. One included transitioning Camilla into a quieter, issue-specific role, focusing on literacy and domestic violence charities without large-scale public events. Another proposed a rotation system where Princess Anne, Duchess Sophie, and even Lady Louise Windsor could take on ceremonial appearances. No decision had been finalized, but one thing was clear. the Queen Consort's schedule would never look the same again. And perhaps, for the first time, it wouldn't have to. Some royal biographers have pointed to this moment as a potential reset. For years, Camilla has walked the tightrope between duty and public redemption. Now, with the nation having seen her real-time reaction to personal tragedy, she has a rare opportunity to shape a new narrative. Less about regality, more about humanity. If she leans into this vulnerable phase with authenticity, she could redefine what it means to serve as consort in the 21st century. However, others remain skeptical. Critics argue that any step back may be viewed as instability within a monarchy already strained by King Charles's health, Princess Anne's injury, and Catherine's recovery. And yet, amid those concerns lies a deeper truth. This is no longer about image management. It's about emotional survival. Camilla's next steps won't just shape her legacy. They could influence how the modern crown is perceived by a generation looking for something real. While internal discussions continued behind closed doors, outside those palace walls, something equally important was unfolding: the emotional reality. Camilla, often portrayed as guarded and resilient, was now showing signs of deep fatigue. It wasn't about titles or optics anymore. It was about grief, uncertainty, and the quiet toll of carrying royal responsibility while fearing for your child. The Queen Consort was no longer a symbol. She had become a mother in mourning, and that changed everything. Emotional toll. In the days following the announcement, those closest to Queen Camilla began noticing a shift. At Highgrove House, where she retreated with her immediate family, staff described the atmosphere as unusually still. Camilla, known for her morning energy and brisk routines, reportedly slept late, skipped meals, and asked for fewer visitors. Even routine calls to her personal secretary were reduced. For someone once called the monarchy's iron spine, this was a new and fragile reality. Her son, Tom Parker Bowles, who had remained largely private throughout royal life, became her central focus. He was said to be undergoing treatment at a private clinic just outside Cheltenham, and Camilla visited twice within a 3-day span. One visit lasted over 6 hours, with no press, no staff, no protection detail inside the clinic. That level of discretion was rare and intentional. This was a mother making time count, while she still could. King Charles, amid his own ongoing cancer recovery, first announced in February 2024, cleared 3 full days from his diary to remain by Camilla's side. He reportedly cancelled briefings with the Commonwealth Secretariat and delayed a proposed phone call with Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. Those close to him said the gesture wasn't strategic, it was deeply personal. For a monarch so accustomed to duty, the fact that he pressed pause spoke volumes about how serious things had become. Meanwhile, Camilla's household staff adjusted to a new tone, one that prioritized compassion over precision. Royal aides allowed her dogs to remain closer during the day, postponed media planning meetings, and even halted rehearsal sessions for upcoming state functions. One senior official summed it up quietly: "She's not Queen Camilla right now. She's just Camilla, and she needs time." For the first time in decades, the royal mask had come off, and the palace let it stay off. As Camilla retreated from the spotlight, the media surged forward. The silence from the palace created a vacuum, and where there is silence, there is speculation. Journalists, analysts, and royal commentators began debating what this moment meant for the monarchy. But what they didn't expect was how the public would respond. What followed wasn't backlash. It was something far more unexpected, a wave of empathy that blurred the line between scandal, sympathy, and something new: understanding. Media storm versus palace silence. By October 23, 2025, every major outlet, from BBC News to CNN International, had run headlines about Queen Camilla's unexplained disappearance from royal life. "Where is the Queen Consort?" became a trending article title across Google UK. Yet, no official statement had been released. The palace held firm. Their only message: Her Majesty is attending to personal family matters. That vagueness was both intentional and frustrating, and it became the heartbeat of every discussion panel across British television. The result? A media storm built on limited facts and overflowing emotions. Some commentators praised Camilla's response as dignified and relatable. Others criticized the palace for hiding behind protocol and leaving the public in the dark. The Daily Mail published an op-ed titled, "Why Silence Isn't Strength," while The Guardian countered with, "Camilla's humanity is her strength." The divide was clear, but the common thread was interest. Everyone was watching, talking, and wondering. But something rare happened online. Instead of mockery or resentment, social media platforms became unexpectedly supportive. Thousands of users on TikTok, X, and Instagram began posting about moments of grief, family health scares, and emotional burnout. Hashtags like #CamillaMoment and #RoyalReality began trending. People saw their own lives in her silence, the pain of receiving terrible news, the choice to pause everything. For a moment, the monarchy stopped being a mystery and became a mirror. This public reaction changed everything. Royal watchers began to speak differently. Biographers who once framed Camilla as the other woman started using new language: resilience, motherhood, endurance. The old narrative, one rooted in scandal and controversy, didn't disappear. But it was joined by something else, something deeper. The realization that even the most controversial royal was still, at the end of the day, someone who could hurt like the rest of us. As the headlines calmed and the schedules cleared, the royal family stood at a quiet crossroads. Queen Camilla had pulled back, but the world had leaned in, not with demands, but with unexpected grace. Now, the monarchy faced a larger question: what comes next? The story that began with a single devastating note had unraveled into something far more powerful. A moment of raw truth inside one of the world's most guarded institutions. The bigger picture. The events of October 2025 won't be remembered for pomp or protocol. They'll be remembered for something rarer: a breaking point. For years, the British monarchy has operated on the strength of tradition, hierarchy, and emotional restraint. But Queen Camilla's reaction, her silence, her absence, her grief, pierced that polished exterior. And in doing so, it revealed something profound. Even queens can break. Even the strongest titles are still human at their core. Behind palace walls, royal strategists have now begun discussions around emotional continuity planning. It's not just about who attends which engagement or who signs which document. It's about emotional leadership. Who supports whom when the public mask slips? How do you protect royal figures from burnout, tragedy, and human crisis? These questions were theoretical before. Now, they're real. And they're urgent. In a monarchy already shaken by King Charles's illness, Princess Anne's accident, and Catherine's recovery, this moment adds another layer. It signals that the crown's strength no longer lies only in tradition. It lies in its ability to adapt, to feel, and to respond. If Camilla does return to public life, she will do so changed. And the public, too, may see her differently, not just as a consort, but as a woman who let the world witness her pain. Whatever the future holds, this moment will be remembered. Not for scandal, not for ceremony, but for its heart. For the day a handwritten note stopped a queen in her tracks. For the silence that spoke louder than any speech. And for the rare, unguarded glimpse into the soul of royalty. And now, as the United Kingdom stands still in collective reflection, one truth has emerged. Queen Camilla's sudden withdrawal revealed something rarely seen behind palace walls: raw, human emotion. In a monarchy built on tradition and restraint, her vulnerability struck a national chord. Whether she returns soon or steps back for good, the moment will be remembered not for royal formality, but for connection. In silence, Camilla spoke volumes, and the country listened with its heart.